and then you stare at a blank page for about 20 minutes and you get anxious about the fact that there's a blank page. You realize that there's no hope in the end. And so you just write that there's no hope in the end. And then you write something else, and then you write something else. And then eventually you get to a point where you're like, okay, I know exactly what I'm trying to say. And a lot of it is just thinking through your emotions, thinking through your thoughts. And from there, those characters start to embody what your thoughts and emotions actually are. The current play, for example, that I'm writing, it's a bit wild and it's a bit out there, but it's because I've been like feeling that pressure of the state of the world and injustice and all of it encompassed into one. And I wish I had magical powers and I could rule the world. That's what I wish, because then I would sort it all. And so I'm creating a play about the fact that I wish I had magical powers and I could rule the world.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Big T, Little T podcast. Today I am joined by Bashiie. Hi Bashiie.
Hey.
I'll let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and the wonderful work that you do.
Hi. Do you know what? That was such an awkward intro. Hey, my name is Bashiie. I am a producer, theatre maker, creative artist. Just however you want to call somebody that makes theatre and lots of other stuff, because they can't decide which job they want to do.
Like a real creative then.
Yeah, basically. The form of an artist is me. No, I am, so I'm a creative artist. I do theatre, I make theatre, I am theatre. Everything about me is theatre. It's more or less my life. I like anime and music, and that's about it. Other than that, I'm not very interested. I'm joking. And yeah, hi.
So tell us a bit about your background then, and how did you get into theatre?
So a bit about my background. I don't know, I was always a rambunctious kid. I really, basically, everybody and their sons, as you know, would like just say, I was a drama queen. I was a lot excitable, is what some people might say. And so I don't know, I was always in and around art in a way, shape or form. I got lucky, I grew up in West London, so they always bring us to museums or the Globe or something. And that really inspired me. And then I don't know, I didn't really take it seriously. I was a youth, so I used to be out on road with my friends. At one point, like, I went into care, so I moved into like a new house with a new foster family. And then this lady called Nova, she's like the head of what they call the virtual school. So that's basically the person like like in charge of like how your education and your life goes, more or less. And so she was like, because I was in the house all the time, and then I'd be out with my friends, and then she was like, okay, you need some extracurricular activities. So she made me go to some basically kind of like a youth camp at the Lyric Hammersmith, which also in some way benefited I guess them and what they wanted to do. So essentially I started doing like after school classes that the Lyric started doing, and started doing like a young voices. So I used to
Oh
sing.
wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know this.
It's different one. Like, yeah, I try and hide it as much as possible. So I started doing Lyric Young Voices. I then like from there I started, I don't know, just doing little bits and things here at the Lyric. I was doing like the young acting classes, all of this, that, and the other. I was very monogamous to Lyric. I didn't know there were other theatres out there that you could sign up to as well. I was just like, yeah, man, I'll go to this place. And then the Lyric closed down for a little while because they had this like £5 million refurbishment. And after that, like all of us had to audition to be the different parts of the show, where they were going to open it up and basically do this big promenade piece where everyone would get taken around and introduced to the new spaces in a dramatic and theatrical way. And I did an audition, and they asked me to be the lead along with my friend Nathaniel. And so we were the person that was basically like leading the story throughout these different rooms. We got to film, we got to do some acting, we were made to sing. Me and Nathaniel kept trying to sing under each other. And after that, I was in.
Wow.
It was just, from there, kind of thing.
And did you go on to do any more studies in the arts?
Yeah. You know what? I'm trying to like not like long out the fact that this is actually like because I'm almost 30 years old, so I'm like it's actually a long life to talk about. I haven't
Please.
said that now.
I've done many
So
things.
I don't know, by that point I was like 16, 17, and then eventually 18. And so I went to university, like I did college, I did drama. Well, I didn't do drama at first because they didn't have drama at my college. And then I flopped the year. Obviously that was the same year I went into care. I'm not gonna say that like it was a bad thing. Like I was dealing with some stuff at home and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't do well in my studies and it showed. Like, do you know what I mean? I thought I had it. I didn't have it. I didn't do
Mm.
well. Like at one point I went into the exam room. I didn't even answer one of the questions because I didn't even think to look at the back of the page. And so like I completely failed that like the literacy exam. And I was like, me, I love words. Are you crazy? It was a bad time for me.
Yeah.
So I repeated the year, fine, like, but then by that time they had more people who were signing up to do drama. So I got to do drama. They tried to make me do psychology. I didn't do that for very long, so I dropped it. So I only had 3 A levels, so I had to do well.
Mm.
Because I'd already got the ITAS because I did it obviously the year before, and that was the only one I passed. So like I did English, media, and drama, and then from there, like I guess that kind of set off my career. So then I
Mm-hmm.
went to university because I got into Roehampton. That was more or less the only uni I got into. Like, do you know what? I just don't want to lie about it. Like, I don't want to pretend like I was some big shot. I wasn't. I was a failure, and I really thought I could get by on the fact that I was somewhat intelligent. So yeah, but like I worked hard on those exams. Like, don't get me wrong, I
Exactly.
banged them because I was not failing again. Um, so I did that. I got into Roehampton. I never went to classes, which was really bad because I just wasn't. I guess I wasn't dealing with the transition very well. And
Mm.
then when I did eventually go to classes, like I don't know, I felt like the stuff they were teaching is. I was so resistant to it, but I didn't realize at the time, like the inner workings of my body was telling me this was racist. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so like I would always rebel in my own way. So like we're getting taught feminism by this white woman. She's telling us all these feminist figures and a few black feminist figures. And I'm thinking, why these ones? And so I go and find my own feminist figures and she's like, you're failing. And I'm like, am I? But like, all of your main scores got
Wow.
invigilated in it. So like, and the invigilators I had on side.
Yeah, wow. It's such a thing that people don't talk about enough, actually. It is that what it is when you go into certain institutions, and there is that who you look at who's on the teaching board. So I did my sports and exercise nutrition masters at Northampton as well. And in the whole department, there wasn't a single black person, who taught me basically. And it's like there was nothing wrong with the people who lectured me, but it does feel very uncomfortable, maybe not even consciously, but within yourself, you sort of think to yourself, like, so you're looking around the room. I'm looking around the room. I'm literally the only black woman there. So I'm like in the whole room. Okay. Again, here we go
There's
again.
like
But yeah,
there's like
but
100 odd students here as well. I just want to make that clear. It's not like 30 people in a class. That's a lot
no,
of people. Hampton's
yeah,
big.
it's massive. It's a gorgeous university. But yeah, and it can really throw you. And like, I love the fact that you went off and just thought, you know what, you're teaching me this. I want to learn this.
So yeah, I'm not gonna
Wow.
lie. I learned how to essay write. That's for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Because you can't mark me down on my grammar or my spelling or my sentence structure or things that because like I used to get marked down on the fact that the things didn't connect. Because I've moved on to a whole new point. I'm not trying to connect the last paragraph to this
You
paragraph.
got to
This
link
paragraph
them.
is over. Yeah, I know. This is what I learned. Kind of thing. And so I don't know. After that, I'm not gonna lie, that taught me how to make cover letters, UCAS applications.
Mm.
Yeah. It's not anyways. So yeah, after that, I got 2-1, but and there was only a couple marks off of the first.
Oh,
I got like a
wow.
56 or something, 57. And I was like, oh, an A is like a 62. I'm not doing too bad. Kind
Yeah.
of thing. So no, it was a 71. I think I got 62. I'm getting my marks messed up. Anyway, it's not the point. So yeah, then for one of our last kind of like dissertation things, you got the choice of writing a dissertation or a script. And so they were like, it's 12,000 words on the script and like 120,000 on the dissertation. And I went, obviously, I'm going to choose the script. Like, what do I look like? A fool. So I wrote a play. It wasn't very good. It was a very trauma porny, but it got me the first I needed, and they seemed to like it. And so then from there I kind of put it on as like an open mic night with like three like kids between the ages of like 13 and 19. It was very slapdash. I worked with a director that was also an usher with me. And I had my stage manager was 15 years old. My assistant producer was 15 years old. Big up them.
Wow.
And do you know what I mean? Like we just slapdashed it. And at this point, I'm like 21 kind of thing. Because if you're underage, I don't have to pay you. That was a bad, don't like, follow that for any other producers out there. That's not, I've changed my ways. So
well, also you didn't have the funds.
Yeah, like there was no funds. It was free.
Yeah, exactly.
It was all free. So yeah, so then from the open mic night, somebody was like, I like this. And the lyric were like, let's put this on as one of our headline shows for our Evolution Festival, which is kind of like this new work festival they did. So they gave us 1,500 and we used that to pay for a set designer, Hazel Lowe, and like we found them through a friend of mine's mum who worked at the Wimbledon Arts College. And then like we were like, do you have any third years that are looking for work kind of thing? And then from there, we like then started doing like a like crowdfunder to raise more money so that we can get more stuff. And maybe some new actors because the ones we had were underage, obviously. And there was a lot of conversations with their parents, like, we're not trying to do that with them. And so yeah, then somebody else saw it and was like, I'd like to take it to my theatre in Margate. And then I was searching online and I found another theatre that was doing like a fringe season. We took it there. It basically went on tour for like more or less a whole year because that's how long it took us to do everything. We raised money through crowdfunders and a few donors. And after that, I got the producing bug. I joined I've done a couple of like obviously training schemes like Sour Lemons and Stage One, and then like a few of them flopped, a few of them worked well for me. I started working at Tallow Theatre Company, and which is where I said I'm at now. I've just produced a show called Bashiie, which was kind of like toured like London and the West Midlands. East Midlands, and yeah, I don't know, like that's me. Like I've done a few things in between. I also did a West End show, which I always forget to like leave out, like because of Stage One, like that they teach how to be a West End producer. And there was a show called Best of Enemies. I raised some money for it. We did the show. It did well. It won a couple of awards. So
wow,
that's
that is amazing. Just that stuff, Just that one time when I just went, national with my play.
Not that important. It's not that deep,
Was that the play that I came to watch at the Lyric, by the way? So I was saying that was a long time ago, so it must have been about then. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Oh gosh.
Story of my life, literally.
That is amazing. So today we were going to talk about mental health, particularly in young people, and also how that sort of impacts, it can actually stifle your creativity. And I guess in many ways, learning as well. You sort of mentioned there, like what it was like for you that first time around doing your A levels. You were going through a lot of transitions. There was a lot going on for you in your personal life. And so I could imagine it must have been quite difficult for you to be present in that exam. There's nothing worse than realizing that there's a question that you didn't answer. You're like, I didn't see that question. Like, what is going on?
Question?
Yeah. What other side of the paper? What? But what are some common mental health challenges that you think young people are facing today?
Well, one of the things is actually one of the things I spoke about in that play that I wrote. Like, although it was trauma porny, it hit on a couple of things, which is anxiety, probably the biggest one. The fact that people are like socially anxious about work, anxious about their future because the economy feels like it's dropping and there's nothing like we can do to stop it. And like I don't know, there's just like an overarching pressure, and young people especially can feel that, and like they don't know why they're feeling it, they don't know what they're feeling, but they know that there's just this void that's kind of like, I work with a lot of, I guess, between the ages of like 12 and 18-year olds, and in fact 22-year olds, oh my god. And like I'm seeing that a lot of them are kind of like dealing with the fact that they're finding out, maybe some of them are neurodivergent, some of them maybe like finding out, oh, like this is costing this much in order to live the plans and dreams I had, seem impossible. Like understanding what the, I guess, altogether it means to actually become an adult and become and be a part of the world is just kind of soul crushing,
Mm.
I think. And that's what it was for me. I was like, I had to go out very quickly. And so when I realized all of that stuff, I was kind of like, oh, okay. Nobody prepared me for this. Can I have a little bit more time, please? And there was no more time left,
Mm.
kind of thing.
Yeah. And I guess that reality of like, you know, for those who went straight into their higher education from secondary school, like you said, not actually knowing how much things cost in the real world. I vaguely remember what that was like, where I thought, I didn't even know that people paid taxes. So I thought that the salaries that you saw in the papers, you know, back in my day, where jobs are advertised in the newspapers, I thought that's my take home salary for the year. No, love. There's tax to pay. This little life that you have planned out. Mm-mm. But yeah, it's different, and we've more difficult now, I would say, because we've got the cost of living crisis, and salaries haven't actually raised enough to really allow people to live a comfortable life.
And I think it's like also the fact that these young people then get given like access to a student loan, but no access to how to use it.
Mm.
And you can teach them like money managing and budgeting as much as you want, but until you teach them how to actually restrain themselves from spending all that money, because all of this stuff is now open to them to buy because they've never had any freedom at all, it creates a wormhole that ends up affecting them later on in life, which is what I saw happen to a lot of my friends. Luckily, because I had already been in that kind of bubble, I just used it to pay my rent. I'm still in that wormhole though, because I didn't think about what would happen if I put some money away, kind of thing. And it's like you can tell people to save and to budget and but you have to tell them the reality of the situation.
Mm.
And because of that, because of the need to protect young people, there's been no clearness about that. So now they're all kind of just like stuck in this bubble of, oh, freedom, I think, I think, kind of
Mm.
thing, which again just makes them all very anxious.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of uncertainty. Yeah, why don't they teach people what to do with their student loans? I don't know. That's so important. It's a lot of money to be given in a lump sum as well, X amount of times a year, and yeah, not being known what happens. Yeah, once that money's run out.
If you don't live
What
on
are,
campus, yeah,
yeah, so I
sorry.
said it again.
If you don't live on campus, then that money's just free reign, really. Yeah,
Yeah.
just a lot.
And what would you say that some of the signs and indicators are that a young person might be struggling with their mental health? And I think anxiety is a good one to talk about, because I think it's one that can be quite evasive or not always so obvious that you might struggle with it.
I think it's the most common one, because I could talk about depression, I could talk about like all the rest of it as much as I want, but it's the ones that everybody else is like focusing on, and it's the one, like anxiety is the one that everybody has, I feel like. And it's like common stress factors, like little things, like some people are a bit more touchy, some people are a bit more clingy, some people are just a bit more, I can't, like a bit less interactive, like they don't want to communicate with their friends or anymore, or and like you don't see from them in days and things like that. And then it causes this kind of like bubble of isolation, that makes them like detached and depressed and leads to all these other things.
Mm,
Um, so it changes for everyone, but it's genuinely just like, I guess, a spike in a person's personality changes, like little things, something that they're doing too much of or not enough of that they used to. And people don't pick up on those things because like we're all selfish. Like, do you know what I mean? Like we're all focusing on ourselves and what we want. And
mm,
so like if we're not getting what we want out of a person, majority of the time, we're just like, oh, we'll leave them. Maybe they need space or something like that. When the reality is that actually they need you more than ever. And they might even try and push you away because of it. And sometimes just showing up is the way forward. And I feel
mm,
like I see that a lot in like the younger members of my family, like a lot of them feeling like they have no one to talk to. And I'm like, I'm here, but there's only so much I can reach out because I've got my own life to live and my own stuff to deal with that I don't want to put onto them. And I don't want them to feel like they have to come to me in order to feel safe, but that they know where they can find safe spaces. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I think that's such a key thing of like, yeah, sometimes it's not always clear when someone isn't around or someone isn't able to, make it to things, canceling last minute and things like that. But if that's out of character for that person, like you said, that could be a sign. Or the other way around, if someone is usually quite, a bit of a homebody and they're suddenly doing something else, they live in a different sort of lifestyle, they're out all the time. Nothing wrong with it, but it actually might be out of character for that person and also could be a sign of something underlying, right?
Definitely. And it's embarrassing a lot of the time, especially if like it's little things like I don't have money, so I can't go out and things like that.
Mm,
You don't want to tell people that. That's embarrassing. Do you know what I mean? And so I feel like a lot of people feel unsafe or uncomfortable in certain situations, which is kind of like, and it just leads to people thinking that they are a certain type of way. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean?
I think also it can be very lonely. And I'll talk about loneliness a lot. And I think it's such a common thing that I see, particularly within different, I could talk about within the Black culture, for example, and a Black community, within our own community, it could be easy to feel quite lonely because if you're not into I'm putting massive quotation marks around the stereotypical things that Black people like. Sometimes it's hard for you to find people who look like you, who like the things that you like, and so that can also feel quite difficult. Or again, if it's a social class thing, so you might have friends around you that come from a different financial background. We talk about generational wealth, but there's also generational poverty as well. So like you said, it could be difficult for people to discuss certain money issues that they might be having because they might not have someone around them who they feel that they can actually relate to or could relate to them.
And like I remember when I first was at uni, like I guess I was hanging around with a group of people, but I didn't feel like they were my friends. I mean, for somewhat good reason because later on there was like a whole betrayal situation.
Mm-hmm.
But like
Trust your gut.
trust me. But at least one of those people like used to always like kind of get frustrated with me because I'd be like, oh, I have no friends, I have no friends. And then at one point, like they turned to me and they were like, I'm your friend though, so I don't understand if you want me to go away, I can go away, but kind of thing. And it kind of snapped me out of that self-pitying cycle, which means that sometimes it's good to just be around people and learn about yourself, even if they're
Mm,
telling you about yourself in a way you don't want to hear it. Kind of thing. Like, and yeah, there was that whole betrayal situation, but that's still the one friend that I do talk to out of that. Do you know what I mean?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's like having people just show up and just be there. Like it's very easy for people to just kind of like ignore the signs. But it's little things like just even if you have your own way of doing it, reminding people that you're there for them. That's I guess the thing that people forget to see. They kind of just let them be.
Yeah, yeah. What would you say would be some of the misconceptions that people might have around young people and mental health?
I think that they're just acting out, that they're trying to be difficult, that they want to be difficult, that they're horrible people. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of the time, like you see people talking about kids like they're already grown folk.
Mm,
And like, whilst I'm the kind of person that's like, I'll talk to a kid on a level. Like, I know you're a human being. I can tell the difference between you being an arsehole and you being like a you kind of thing. And I feel like a lot of it is like laziness and thinking that they don't want to do something or being disruptive or that they're I don't know what's the word difficult and antagonistic or angry, and it's like actually no, they're calling out for help, and a lot of people don't ask why. Like,
mm,
why are you so mad? Like, what's wrong? Like, what's actually wrong? Oh, you don't care. Well, I'm asking, am I not? If I didn't care, would I ask? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you
mm,
know how many conversations I've had like that with my youths as an as a youth kind of thing? When you hear somebody say why, you don't at first believe them because nobody wants to know why or what happened. They just kind of like assume when they usually say the why is you. Why would you do that?
Mm.
Like, why are you such a horrible person kind of thing? When really it's like, what? Why? What's happening? What's going on? More times if you ask what happened, like somebody works like it's even especially if they don't know why, they will explain to you what happened. This happened, this happened, this happened. And you can eventually get to the point that they were frustrated, they were anxious, they were scared. And a lot of the time it's these kind of stigmas that people, especially in Black kids, that they don't want to be a certain type of way. You know how many young Black girls have been called rude because they are socially anxious and shy, and they just
Mm.
perceive like they just push off a push up face because they don't want to be taken for a mug kind of thing. And so it's like even one of my cousins, like I just assumed she was rude but back in the day because when we grew up, she was rude to me. So kind of thing. And so I assumed she was rude to other people because like and then we were out at like an event, a family event, and I must have said it and she was like, I wasn't rude, I was shy. I was like, she was like, I'm not lying. I was sleeping there. I was like, okay, if you know, fair enough. That's my stigma against you kind of thing a lot of the time. And like I can understand why she was socially anxious as well, kind of thing. Like the way people perceive her and the way she's seen, she's mixed race, she's pretty. Do you know what I mean? Like people assume that like they can just talk to her or come up to her. That would make me socially anxious. Like why have I got so much attention? Go away, kind of
Mm.
thing. And so I don't know. I feel like everybody has these barriers and these stigmas against people based off of a misconception. And a lot of the time based off of the thought process of how they think they treat people, but they actually don't know what people are going through. And so they just create an even bigger barrier for these people to access a safe space.
Yeah. I think, yeah, like you said, that importance of having those conversations as opposed to sort of just, making the mistake of just taking what you see at face value. Like you said, that kid that's not talking in at parties, or that one who's not so conversational, maybe they're not trying to be rude, maybe they're going through their own stuff, or they're actually, like you said, they're socially anxious. It's just, sometimes, and I think it is a lot of the time, particularly with young Black girls, and I suspect Black boys as well, it can just be people trying to fit them into a stereotype that is out there, that you're rude or you're angry or you're being, this, that, and the other. And then they can start to internalize those beliefs themselves. And like you said, creates that barrier for them to actually reach out for help because they can actually believe the hype sometimes.
I think the more, especially in young boys, the more you indoctrinate them to believe they can do better, the more they end up doing better. And I've
Mm,
seen that happen on several occasions where you're like, but you're so good. So why are you doing that? That doesn't make sense, kind of thing. And yeah, just positive. What's the word for positively telling someone off?
like, oh, positively telling someone, oh, positive reinforcement. I don't know if that's the right word. I don't think that is.
Yeah, positive reinforcement, I guess. But yeah, like that's the but I get that's always the best way to get through to kids because they think they're about to get cussed. And majority of
Yeah.
the time they're like, oh, if I deep that, actually, yeah, I can do better,
Mm,
kind of thing. Rather than making them feel like you're disappointed in them or they should fear you, just giving them the space to understand that they have room to grow. And like I've been a nanny, I've been a facilitator, I've done all kinds. I've been in all kinds of different spaces and worked with all kinds of different young people, and I feel like a lot of the time that's the reason why they feel like they can come and talk to me because I'm like, right, tell me the whole situation, and
mm,
then let's figure out a solution together because it's like I don't understand why like you would assume that you couldn't be better than what you are. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Because we all have room to grow.
That must be so incredibly powerful as well. Because I think, like you said, a lot of times they've been not used to having that interaction with an adult. They haven't had that space to do that sort of self-reflection and think about actually what could be for them. What else do you feel like schools and parents, carers, facilitators can do to help support young people with their mental health?
I think having open dialogues. I think one of the biggest thing to for young people is to not feel gaslighted. A lot of the time, that's where their insecurities and their problems with, I guess, mental health and mental illness come from, and the fact that they don't access self care and safe spaces comes from the fact that their parents tell them things like they're crazy or it's not true or I didn't experience it that way, so it must not be the fact, kind of thing. A lot of the time, like when I used to be a nanny, there was this kid, right? And he was behind other kids in school because of like the way his schooling had gone. For example, like so he moved from one country to another, and the way we work in this country is at a faster pace than how they work in that country
Okay.
because they're let out of school at a different age. And so we would get into like he hated English, like hated English. We're bang maths, but hated English. Like I am bad at maths. So we would get into these like arguments. Like I'm fully arguing with a 7-year-old at this point. And I'd have to really sit back and be like, why am I so stressed over this? Because he's not spelling things correctly and he's not doing things correctly. And then like if I've shouted at him or I've gotten irritated, I'm like deep in and I'm like, I'm the adult in this situation. I I'm I've really made this kid even more upset about the fact that he can't do something. And like
Mm.
this is during lockdown. I want to just say before I get, flailed and
I think a
cancelled.
lot of parents can probably
We've all been there,
relate.
okay?
Yeah.
Especially during lockdown. Kind of thing. So yeah, like like going up to them and apologizing, acting like the bigger person because you are the bigger person, and naming what you did wrong, apologizing, saying I'm sorry, I shouldn't have shouted you, I shouldn't have got frustrated. That is my fault, and that has nothing to do with you. I need to work on that, and I hope we can like get better. But what I do need from you is this because this is not working, kind of thing. And that kid was good at making bargains. He was very good at making bargains
There we
kind of
go.
thing. You'd be like,
Those his
I'll do an
strengths.
hour of this. Do you know what I mean? I'll do an hour of this. I want to get at least 15 minutes of watching TV. I bet, let's do this kind of thing. So I don't know, like giving them ownership over, I guess, their own knowledge, their own space, their own ability to be themselves. It curbs the anxiety that they're going to do wrong, that they're going to fail. Because that's a lot of the time where anxiety is leading to the fact that they're going to fail
Mm.
or fear of something kind of thing. And a lot of the time, people become more confident in themselves and their ability to do things if, I guess, they're guided and gifted with that kind of experience. But also, just hearing them when they talk, the world is in such a horrible state right now. Like, it's scary. Like,
Mm.
I can hear kids talking to their parents, talking about mom don't litter, the world's gonna blow up. Like, and they're like 7 or 8. And I'm like, I'm just walking down the street and I'm hearing those conversations and I'm like, you got to give these kids a chance to just get out their frustrations. Otherwise, they're just gonna grow up very scared people.
Yeah. And a lot of kids, when you think about what kids have had to grow through. So when I think about, say a 7-year-old now, that 7-year-old was, within their early developmental years when the pandemic was going on. So they've actually experienced fear on levels that maybe can't really compare. But I think that, they've experienced like, something that hopefully we will never have to experience again. But many people in our
World
lifetime have
change.
never experienced. I mean, I guess as I'm saying this, I'm thinking, yeah, war. There is, that's a whole, and terror. There's always been, that's also gone on as well. But I mean, for me anyway, I talk from my own personal experience. I think that pandemic and that whole era was just a real time of uncertainty, and I was just like, like, when is this going to end? And that was me as a grown ass adult. So I can't imagine how that was for kids and for kids being around their parents in that sort of environment. And like you said, then being homeschooled. I think, as I understood it, most parents were losing their rag.
Honestly, I will never do that again. It's on my CV, because I feel like I need props for it as a teacher, especially PE lessons. I was really good at those.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know, yeah, and I feel like it gets even better when they get like 14, 15 because the kids will dog on me. Like I make a mistake, I'm like, all right, I was wrong, and they'll be like, yeah, and they'll rub it in. I'll be like, hey, don't be a sore winner. I was still wrong though.
Yeah.
Like, and it's
But
like
how
people
powerful is
being
that? Like,
afraid of
yeah, not being afraid to admit
no,
that you've made a mistake. Like I don't know, did you ever experience that growing up? Were there any adults around you that would admit to being wrong? Nope. Same.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Nah, I feel like it's embarrassing, right? Yeah, but people are too embarrassed to be embarrassed by children. And it's really funny for me because I'm just like, they're actually kids, they can do nothing to you. And when you go home, you're living your adult life. They have to get told what to do,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like you're free.
Yeah, whereas I don't have a curfew. So
Y'all gotta get picked up from school and thing. Like,
how incredibly powerful though, just like I said, having an adult in their care admitting when they've made a mistake. I think that's so powerful.
I hope so.
Amazing.
I
No,
hope they
I
recognize it should be or not.
maybe not now, but they will in years to come. How would you say then your own sort of past experiences? I'm thinking more about creativity now. How would you say that your past experiences influence your creative work? You sort of talked about, one of your first plays being around your own personal experiences. I just wonder like how much of your personal experiences have impacted your creative process.
All of them. You know, they say the tortured soul is always one of an artist. Like I have big. I always say this to people. I have big main character syndrome. Like I am the main character of my own story. I have an origin story, whether it's for villains or heroes, we don't know yet. But we'll find out in the near future. um, but like I don't know. I feel like a lot of the things that I create is based off of like my own stories and my own life. Like the first one was about me and my siblings, going into care, understanding what it means as a human being as an identity piece, I guess. Like any other like the poems I've written usually stem by like my anger or my sense of injustice or my feelings and need for power. And I don't know, like even I guess the organization that I've created, Care Culture, that's made out of the fact that when I was in care, I realized like, yeah, I got some of these benefits getting into the industry, but unlike other people who have parents that can teach them this stuff, I didn't have access to the business side of the creative. I just got to experience it. People saw it as like an outlet for me. And I'm like, hey, I'm trying to make this a career, man. People looking at me like, are you sure? Are you positive? It's not a lot of money in it. And I'm like, yeah, man, I can make money. Are you dumb? I'm an artist. I got skills. And it's like the stuff like it influences the way I make work. Like these days, like sometimes I don't get asked to do jobs kind of thing. Like, I mean, I don't like apply to do jobs sometimes. People ask me to do them because like they've heard of me or because they know of like my ability to work with certain people. And
Mm.
that's purely from the experiences I've had, like, especially working with young people, because I remember what being a young person was like it's yesterday. And I feel like the way certain adults move and act around children means that they're protecting them too much, and that means that they don't learn how to be adults, if that makes sense. And I don't mean obviously just breaking all the safeguarding rules in the world, but sitting someone down and saying, you do this and it looks bad on you like this because you're a young Black person, you're a young person that has been seen in this way, a young person that has experienced things in this way, and like making them understand the ramifications of their actions actually helps them to grow as people and individuals and artists. Give them
Mm.
that influence and saying things like, you're really good at this. This is incredible. You actually have a career in this. Consider doing this, and giving them that knowledge and skill and understanding of those things gives them the ability to choose their paths instead of just offering it to them the minute they turn 16 and saying, choose your fighter, and just expecting them to go. Do you know what I mean? So many adults have had to change their career paths because they realized they went into the wrong one. And instead of doing that, like empowering them to do the things that they're good at and the things that they enjoy, I feel like it's it's encouraged the way that I create as an artist, because I'm like, if I'm going to do that for young people, I'm going to do that for myself, and so I make the work that I understand and that I enjoy. If that makes
Mm.
sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And how would you say, so when you think about them, when you're going through, as you've been through sort of your own sort of anxiety stuff or your own mental health issues, like how does that impact your creative process? Do you find that does it spur it? Does it hinder it? I suppose it can do either or.
Yeah, I guess a lot of the time it's what starts it. I realize that the plays I don't like to write shows that are just about like sadness and anger and da 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 da, but like to write about what's on the other side of that. and how you
Mm.
get there. And usually what also creates and encompasses those situations. I think usually when I start writing, it's because I'm in a state of something and I need to get it out. I use it for therapy a lot. And I kind of push the emotions into the characters, I guess. I'm trying to like think of the words, but the best way is to say that a lot of people say that I guess characters are created 3D from the people and the experiences that you've had. And so a
Mm.
lot of that is like, how would people speak? How would people talk? How would people say these certain things? And what does this character mean to me? And so a lot of that builds on my creativity, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So it sounds like it's quite an outlet for you.
Yeah.
And do you feel like it's an outlet? So like when you've actually like at what point does it feel like a release? I guess I'm curious to know. Like, is it when you've formulated the idea or is it when it comes to full fruition?
So I formulate the idea and it doesn't go in any way, shape, or form the way the idea is planned.
Okay.
A lot of the time it's based off of, I guess, what I'm feeling in that moment and what makes sense. And I I don't know, it's a lot to make the choice to sit down and write. And then you stare at a blank page for about 20 minutes and you get anxious about the fact that there's a blank page because you're like, you see your whole life across that blank page. You see the career flatlining and you realize that there's no hope in the end. And so you just write that there's no hope in the end. And then you write something else and then you write something else. And then eventually you get to a point where you're like, okay, I know exactly what I'm trying to say. And a lot of it is just thinking through your emotions, thinking through your thoughts. And from there, those characters start to embody what your thoughts and emotions actually are. The current play, for example, that I'm writing, it's a bit wild and it's a bit out there, but it's because I've been like feeling that pressure of the state of the world and injustice and all of it encompassed into one. And I wish I had magical powers and I could rule the world. That's what I wish, because then I would sort it all. And so I'm creating a play about the fact that I wish I had magical powers and I could rule the world. And it's
Oh
just
wow.
about three teenagers fighting to become goddesses. Do you know what I mean?
I love that. So that's the current that's the one that's in writing at the moment.
Currently.
Have you got a name for it yet, or was that happen more towards when it's finished?
Something about the chaos group, I feel like.
Okay, nice. Oh, that sounds really
Something like that.
exciting. I feel like we need a play like that at the moment. Someone to give us hope, something to inspire someone to actually form the chaos group. Me, Bashiva, I'm looking at you.
When whoever wants to join my coven, I'm ready.
You're ready for it. How do you balance all those things though? Because I know it can be really hard when you're creative, like you said, sitting there staring at a blank screen. When you said that, my heart was like, because I know that feeling of just like, where do I even start? How do you balance like your creative pursuits and your mental health? Like how I say how like do you have the answer? Let me know because if you do, I'd love to love
You
to
know
know.
what? Nobody has the answer for that. Like I balance them not very well sometimes very well. I feel like imposter syndrome is one of the biggest ones that gets me
Mm.
because once the anxiety comes, the imposter syndrome follows. It's just like, no, you cannot do this. You don't have the skill. More meanwhile, my friends will be like, you're an expert. Oh my gosh, you're so amazing. And I'll be like, are you guys sure? Um, so I think the best way to do it is to just keep pushing through and using those voices. Like, because that's what I remind myself a lot of the time. Have I put out my one-to-one session plans and the fact that I can do all of this amazing work with artists, but I kind of want to get paid for it? No, because my imposter syndrome is like, psh, no one's gonna pay you for that. Will I do it eventually? Yes, it's getting closer to the point. It's made, it's ready, it's there. I just need to actually post it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like reminding myself and hearing those voices that do it in the background
Mm.
and just like speaking those conversations out with people and saying like I don't feel like I'm good enough to do this and having that person reinforce your ability to do it is so far the way that I've so far been dealing with, other than writing out my anger, which is sometimes not very healthy because you just end up writing a rant about what you're mad about,
Well, but
you
that
know.
is the healthy part of it because it's better to have it out than to have it in where it's sort of just eats away at you in other ways. And so, yeah, it
Yeah.
can be quite, yeah,
Yeah, I'm like, you got to get that edited. You got to take a look at it first. Don't submit it.
you're not,
Okay, don't submit.
not as it is. But no, I think you, like what you said there as well, like the input, like I talked at the beginning of the year about like sort of goal setting and how we take action towards our goals. And yeah, whilst you've got to be able to validate your own stuff and to validate yourself, but you also do need that external validation from someone else to say, because there are going to be those gaps. So you just think, especially when you're trying to do something above and beyond what you're used to doing, this is a gap. So you are going to feel like, am I the right person? What was I thinking? Oh my gosh, I should have done this ages ago. Oh my God, I'm still not doing it, you know? So when you talk to someone else and they can just give you that voice that you just need at that moment because you've got a head full of critique and criticism. And so it takes a village.
Genuinely, not just to raise a child, but to keep yourself sane.
Yeah. To raise the inner child, but also I think as well, like I think it's a very common thing that Black women can fall into the trap of not reaching out for help and not sharing our goals or not sharing our aspirations because we think that somehow someone's going to take it away from us. That sort of scarcity mindset. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. You've got people out there who actually have your back, and I think just learn how to trust people is so important and can be difficult as well.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, other women will support you, and it's really funny because I have a few Black women in my life who I call my best friends, and I'll be around all the time. But my circle is quite luckily diverse, and it means that I hear it from all different perspectives, from the privileged kids in wealth to the privileged kids in family, and it means that I can learn from loads of different people
Mm.
and use that knowledge to push myself forward as well. So I'd say go to your tribe because you never know what they come to you with, you know.
It's so true. But yeah, like you said before, like having people around you who you can actually trust. I think sometimes when people are afraid of sharing their goals, they probably haven't got the right people around them because you wouldn't feel that way if you had like people who had your back around you. You know, for feeling that way, I think it's probably a sign that you're not around the right people.
No. And I think that's what happened to me a lot. And I guess one of the reasons why I mentioned it is because like the few Black women friends that I have are the ones that have actually empowered me, whilst the other ones around me have made me feel insignificant or not safe. If that makes sense. And a
Mm-hmm,
lot of
mm-hmm.
time that can be speaking to your anxiety, the fact that your friends are not supporting you. And so like even if sometimes you're like, I just gotta go and find new friends, new people who are interested in the things I'm interested in. Like that's just what you gotta go to. And
Yeah.
like the ones that care about you will be around. They'll come, they'll be around. You'll never lose your people, don't worry, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think again, it goes back to that feeling. So, one of the things that I always like to differentiate is the difference between being alone and loneliness. And that you can have a whole bag of people around you and feel incredibly lonely because if they're not your people, you don't feel like you're a part of that group. Then you're going to feel lonely. It doesn't matter how many people you got around you. And you can have the smallest circle of friends, true friends that have your back and you trust. And then you feel fine. Do you know what I mean? That's when you've got that felt sense of I'm a part of a thing here. We're a collective, we're a community, and that's so powerful in terms of like pushing yourself forward.
This is just it.
Exactly. What was it like for you though? Because people don't talk about this enough. Like and this is going off piece a little bit, like breaking up with friends. Like how did you do it? Did you like announce it? Did you like we're no longer friends, or did you just sort of fade out? Like what was the process,
Do you know what the
or did it all
funniest
just
thing is?
kick off?
I was just, do you know what it is, right? Yeah. So I was bullied a lot in school, in it. So like dealing, like I had to always decipher who was my friend and who wasn't in it. So
Mm,
when people were like, when I finally realized that people were shady, usually too late, kind of thing, I just basically would just I'd air them. I've become a ghost. I no longer exist. You know what? Going into foster care was actually quite good for that because it meant nobody knew where I lived. Um, so they couldn't come knock for me anymore. That was when I was a kid. When I got older, and I guess it started to be that like the women around me kind of more or less told me I wasn't Black enough to be part of the crew. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, and or
because
not
that's
pretty
the
enough.
thing.
That's always the worst.
Oh God.
Always. kind of thing. I kind of step back, and then I ingratiated myself more in the theatre community. A lot of my friends, my best friend, Della, I love that girl. Honestly, I love best friend Ariel. They're the
Yeah.
best. So
That's the chaos crew right there,
yeah,
isn't it? That's who...
maybe we do have plans to take over the world, but but like when it's funny because one of the characters is actually based off of like the both of them. Um, when I first started to become friends with them in school, like I don't know, there was this like really tall black girl, and Aria's this like I guess average height, shortish white girl, and I saw them two sitting next to each other. No, well, I saw Adela sitting next to another girl, and then adopted Aria much later because I was like, I like you, something about you calls to me. I was out to Adela and I went, "You gonna eat that?" Because she had left her cupcake on the table, and that's how we became friends. And I then adopted that technique with everyone I felt a vibe with. And I started doing that. And that's how I realized how to make friends. And I started breaking up with the friends that I was like, you know what? The vibe is just giving me, it's giving me danger. It's
Yeah, it's
giving me,
giving me we can't be
I don't want
friends.
to. I'm just going to step back.
Yeah.
Or I'd start an argument and then we'd no longer be friends.
Orchestrate a whole argument. But yeah, I honestly think like it doesn't matter how someone goes about it. Like I think, I'd love to be able to sit here and be like, if you're going to break up with friends, that's how you should do it. But the reality of it is sometimes it's not that easy to be like, oh, I'm going to have a conversation because you might get attacked. Do you know what I mean? So you don't know what's going to, sometimes you're just going to do the safest option that is available to you. And sometimes that is just kind of fading, fading into the ether. And there's usually good reason why someone takes that option actually at the time. But yeah, and I love that you found your tribe, and I love that you even touched on people making comments of not being black enough. That gets me. That's that gets me deep. That one, because to this day will never understand what that means. Because what
I'm
am I
so glad
supposed to be doing? Just like sitting eating? I don't know. Like don't make me say something stereotypical right now. But what is it? What is this? Like,
you know what? I always assumed it was because I didn't look like a sparkly black girl. The ones that are pristine always. Like no matter like hair is always kept. Like it doesn't matter which style, it's just kept. And they always had the nice clothes. And when we got older, the nails and the lashes. And I was just there like, I'm not gonna lie. That's illiterate to me. Like, I don't how it's just not for me. I tried, it didn't work, and I'd give up and I'd look like a little boy, and then everyone would be like, oh my gosh, you should try harder, and I'd be like, can't I be bothered? I just want to read my books, to be
yeah.
honest.
I'm so with you on that. I like minimal effort, but also I mean it's a personal thing. So it's like it's no shade to anyone who does the whole what, but it was. I remember there was a lot of conversations going on around social media at one point, sort of the clean girl aesthetic that black girls were falling into, and sort of the origins of that, which I can't even go into right now. But like how again, it's that thing of like we're not here to appear to be one way. Everyone has different ways of expressing themselves, and through different types of clothes, and whether they wear makeup, don't wear makeup. Like who said? Well, we know who said, but who said we all had to look the same?
I like looking scruffy, and I feel like it just means that, especially in the work I do, I don't like get stressed out about the fact that I've been running around for 30 minutes and now my hair is frayed, or my makeup is running, or I've tried to itch my eye and now I've got mascara in it. I got tired of doing it, and
Yeah.
it wasn't winning me anything that I needed or wanted, and so I left it behind. And I feel like after that, it became a thing where it was like, you really need to try harder. And I was a clean babes for a while, you know. I had it all in my university years. It was a
When you had
thing.
time on your hands. I'm sorry, that's the other thing I don't get as well, where people find the time and money to do the makeup. I mean, again, I love it. I love it on other people. It's not for me, and I love it on other people. Sometimes I think, all right, maybe I'll learn how to like do my eyebrows better. A 20-minute video, I don't have time. I'm not doing it. Just 2 minutes. Let's go. They're
Well, I
gonna get
want
what
it
eyebrows they're gonna get. But yeah, but what we're talking about here is just like certain aesthetics and beauty standards that within our own community that we feel we have to enforce on others. everyone, each to their own. You do you. You'll wear makeup into stuff. Love it for you. Like, it's about just letting people be who they are.
themselves. I was like, I like reading books and watching anime.
Yeah. What anime do you watch?
I don't even know what it's called. I feel like it's called shonen. I like the animes where they fight like Naruto and Bleach, long form ones that are gonna last me a little while. See.
Okay. I haven't quite gotten into anime, but I did realize on Netflix the other day they now have Spirited Away, and I feel like that's like a one that everyone's supposed to have watched, and I haven't watched that yet. And so I'm thinking about. I know I've not watched any anime. I watch animation, so I watch things that I don't feel proud of,
It's not the
like Family
same.
Guy and American Dad. I don't feel proud that I watch those programs. Just don't. It's not
We've all
very
done it.
inappropriate. They're a bit my guilty pleasure. And what else? Like Archer. I do like cartoons, Bob's Burgers. That's a bit of me. But in terms of like when we talk about anime, I know you're talking about the cool stuff. I haven't gone there yet.
No, do you know what? There's actually an anime for everyone, and I say that to everyone. You like maths, there's an anime about that. You like science, there's an anime about that. You like health and nutrition, there's an anime about it. There's an anime about cooking. There's an anime like listen, there's an anime about ninjas. There's an anime about everything. You know what I mean? Like there's an anime about this one guy that finds a book, and anybody whose name he writes in it dies. In which
Oh my
he
god.
died, right? There's
How
horror
many
anime, there's happy
It's crazy
anime.
that he has that many names that he would write in a book. Also, I can't imagine a name that would maybe if we're talking about world. No, I couldn't do it. But I'm like,
No,
would I?
yeah,
Would
no,
I?
he chose everybody. Everybody was at his disposal. You know, if Donald Trump was a wait, can I say that on T? Anyways, if Donald Trump was a thing, like back in them times, he would have been the first name in that book.
I don't think I could do it. I don't have that. I'd be like writing names down and immediately erasing it. No, 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 no. Oh, they're still alive. Good. Sorry, I had a moment. I couldn't do it. But imagine having that power. Don't make me write your name. Like that power the teachers had. I will put your name on the list. There's a whole different list. Um, what advice would you give to any artists out there who are struggling with their own mental health? Like, are there organizations or are there any, and I don't know, like what would you say is out there for them? And if not, like what would you say that they could do for themselves?
I think there are several organizations out there, and a quick Google search will find you a mental health aid charity or website or email or phone number that can get you some help some way. But you have to want to help yourself. You can't stay in the slump forever. And like we've all been there, especially the creative slump when you're getting no job offers, when you're getting no inspiration for work, the muses are just ignoring your pleas, and like you don't know what to do with yourself. Take a break. Accept that this is what it is. Go do something else. Try a hobby. Find something to creatively let out whatever that feeling is that you can't identify. Speak to a friend. See if somebody's feeling the same way as you. Just find a way to get it out. Otherwise, you're gonna stay in that space and it's never gonna end. And you're gonna wish that like you'd you'd ask for help when you needed it. Because a lot of the time it's those around you that are gonna pull you out of it and just be like, come, join me. We got this. Why do you just come? Do you know how many friends I've been like, just come stay at my house. If you're feeling lonely, just come. Like, ain't nobody gonna care that you're here. Do you know what I mean? So ask for help.
Yeah. Oh, and did you have any sort of you sort of talked about your best friend. Did you have any other significant people who helped support you in your journey to where you are today?
Yeah, listen, there are so many people. I can't name them all. I've got like a list. I'd
Yeah.
say the biggest one I have to give props to is my boyfriend because that boy has dealt with a lot of the whatever's up in here, and he's still around. And I'm just like, well done. That's a lot of hard work, you know. You should be given an award. um,
We can make him up an
and
award.
to me, and my siblings, like I'm lucky enough to have siblings, and I'm the second oldest, but I can go to any of them and just chat out my problems, which is nice because it's like they know they can come to me when they need me. Some of them get on my nerves, and I just wanna, I'm like, put up your dukes, but we can't do that no more. We're adults, somebody can stop us, kind of thing. But all in all, I think out of all of the people in the world, they're my first go to whenever something goes wrong. I'm just like, I need to call my sister or I need to call my brother because they get it. they get why I'm feeling that way. They've been through what we've all like our trauma, and they also know me and my brain kind of thing. And they're always there to be like, ask the hard questions, tell me hard truths, but also just be like, you deserve more and you deserve better, and that's okay. And I gotta give them big props for that, because you know what? When we were youths, they were all trash people. Apart from me, I was the best one. They're my, like, do you know what I mean? They're my rocks. And I think that's what holds me up. So I think find your tribe if you don't have siblings. If you're not close to your siblings, find people that you can call your siblings, people that you can call to. If I can't speak to them about it, I'll speak to my best friend. I always talk it out, because that's just how I process. If you're not a talker, right? Make art, draw it, find a way to just, you know what I mean? Get it out, give it to somebody, ask them what they think.
Mm. As you
You're not
reflect,
alone.
you're not alone. I think that's such an important part that you're not alone. It often can feel that way, particularly when people are struggling with their mental health. It can feel very isolating. And sometimes, in many ways, people may isolate themselves, but nonetheless, yeah, you are not alone. Well, as you reflect on your own journey, what would you say were the significant transformations that you've seen in yourself as you've gone along?
I think so. I have ADHD, right? So I've always been quick to anger and frustration, and like if things don't happen my way, I can be a control freak because of the like life I've lived. And I think I've been better at giving away control, calming myself,
Wow.
creating that mask that sometimes you have to create, and then putting it into something else somewhere else. Um, Obviously I'm still on a journey. There are a couple breakdowns. I've had a couple breakdowns at work. I'm gonna be honest about that, because I feel like you should be honest about your mental health, because you're not alone. It's been embarrassing. I've cringed myself to sleep and then gotten over it the next day, because you know what? I'm human. I'm allowed to be down sometimes, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And I think just not beating myself up about it, and not beating myself up about my past and the things that I've been through, is probably the biggest discovery I've made for myself. And I think as an artist, taking ownership of my identity,
Mm.
and the fact that I'm okay with being myself. Like, I feel like the biggest test is when you don't care that kids are mocking you for your appearance in life. Like, you know, especially when you're a facilitator, um, like, and you get mocked for your appearance, and you're just like, wait, I'm not actually here to impress any of you, so I don't care what you say, kind of thing, because kids are the most brutal people in the world. And so I think the minute I start kind of like caring about what people think of me and how I'm perceived by others, and started just worrying about how I'm perceived by myself, I
Mm.
really noticed how much I grew as a person. And it's helped a lot with, like, I guess, self-reflection and recognizing why I feel the way I feel when I feel it. And sometimes not even when I feel it, just afterwards, because you'll go a little crazy sometimes, you know?
Yeah, there are good days and there are tough days. Roll the punches, as it were. So you're 30 now, which I can't quite believe. Did you say that you were 30 now? You've only just
27 though, almost 30.
I thought you said at some point you were 30, and I was sitting there thinking, this math isn't mathing. I had like a moment. I was like, so well, how old am I then? If so, just for context, I've known you since birth, so that's why I
Yes,
had to
yes.
like sort of do that. I was
15
like,
years
do the
difference, I
mental
promise
math of
you.
like you definitely mentioned 30, so maybe you said almost 30. Maybe I just heard 30 and was like, what? But you've only recently just turned 27.
Yes, I'm like 19th of May, Taurus baby. You know it.
Yay. Gosh, you're still a baby. And so when you but oh, can't believe you're 27. And so when you think back to your younger self now, what words would you say to her about, maybe your experiences back then and how things turned out for you?
You are very volatile. You need to chill out. It gets better. Like, I mean, it's okay to be angry, but geez, like, calm down a little bit and see the greener side of the life.
Mm.
I think I spent a lot of time wallowing in self-pity and not enough time enjoying the life that I had. Go and explore, go and try new things, try other theaters. The Lyric is not the only one. And learn a bit about yourself. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable.
I love that. I love that. And I think it's tough as well. I mean, you had a lot going on back there. So yeah, I guess looking back, you could understand how maybe volatile and angry that you were. But actually, if you had no one teaching you how to not be that way, if you had no one who was able to soothe you, then it's actually quite hard to do as a kid. Like without like we have to learn that from someone. We need someone around us to not shout at us, but maybe sit down and talk
Question
to us on a
us.
level. Yeah. That might have been helpful. As I say, I'm speaking of my own experiences there as well. But I think that's really powerful words, and I think I could just It's so nice how things have turned out for you. Like I remember that day at the Lyric theatre, and I just remember thinking, I can't believe this is Bashiva. Like, what is? I'm in the Lyric theatre, which I actually don't think I'd been there before for a play. I'm quite sure that's the first time I'd even been there for a play. And it was even when I heard that you were doing a play there, I was thinking, oh, maybe some little room in the background. No, it's the actual Lyric theatre that you did your play. I was like, I'm so proud. So yeah, no, I love that you followed your dreams and that it's all working out for you. Now you're all grown up, living with your boyfriend. Love it.
Do you know what? Ikesia, you're always actually just baby me. And sometimes it just reminds me of how young I actually am. It's a good thing. Sometimes it's like, can you not embarrass me in front of my friends?
But honestly, I know what it's like because I think when you're in your 20s, particularly I remember being 27 and I saw 27 as my countdown into my 30s. I was like 27, 28, 29, 30. And I felt like I was so grown. Looking back, I'm like, I really had what? I was 27. Like, what the hell? I was in my 20s. So it is interesting, like, you'll get to a point where you'll look back and realize actually how young you are right now, without being condescending, of course, that you're a woman, you're a young woman though, and I think, you're doing all right. You're doing more than all right. Um, would you have any words of encouragement would you have any words of encouragement for others out there who may be experiencing mental health challenges, and particularly those who maybe have also experienced being in foster care as well?
I think go and learn as much as you can. Um, because it's funny how much you learn from being in certain spaces and holistic spaces. I've learned so much about self-care and looking after myself and even just stretching in the morning from being in acting classes.
Mm.
I've learned a lot about my interaction with intimacy and being around people and being touched by people in ways that are intimate but not sexual, and what that, like, do you see what I mean? Like little things that you just pick up when you're in those spaces, and the fact that these things are normal and it's okay, and that not everything has to be sexual. And it doesn't, even if they touch your boob, it could just be an accident kind of thing. Because obviously in those drama spaces, like, hands and bodies are everywhere, not in,
Yeah.
like, do you know what I mean? Not in a gross way, but in a way, frantic assembly is all about lifts and whatnot. So you just gotta accept somebody's touching your bum sometimes, kind of thing. They
Yeah.
probably don't want to. And like, I guess don't be afraid to like be like I said before, be vulnerable and learn about those spaces and be a part of those spaces, because that's usually where you find your tribe the most. It's usually where you find your healing the most. And it's usually like how you figure out what part of society you want to be in. Like sometimes you could just be like, yeah, this ain't for me. And yeah, that doesn't have to be for you. But
Mm.
go find something that is for you. Go boxing, go gym, go do something. You know what I mean? Because the more you stay alone, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and learn about finances in all shape and form, no matter what you do. Top tip.
I wish, yeah, I think honestly, I mean, I don't know if they do now, but I do really feel like they need to be teaching that stuff at school because, like I said, if I didn't know that taxes were what taxes were until I had to start paying them. I was like, wait, what is this? You know, just that would have been helpful. But yeah, I think money management is particularly the state of the economy in the UK now, clearly not teaching our youngsters. That a lot of that could have maybe not been avoided, but could be a lot better. So what are your plans for the future? You've talked about a play that you got in the works. But what are your plans for the future? Like, what are you hoping to achieve over the next coming months and maybe over the next coming years as well?
Well, I've got my theatre company, which we're hoping to start up a young person company with, where we work with young people in foster care. I've been trying to do this for 3 years. Nothing is ever getting perfect, and we'll get funding eventually. I'm not giving up. You know what I mean? Even if it takes me 5 years to get this thing off the ground, it's going to come off the ground. Okay, I promise. But yeah, for now, I've got a couple of financial literacy classes that I'm working on, that I'm trying to build up the courage to actually share, because I'm hoping that, like, I've got enough knowledge, enough people are asking me for the help, and I am running out of funding. So hopefully I can start earning some money for that.
Mm.
I'm good, I promise. And I guess the only other thing is, yeah, I'm working on a few plays. I'm in a play in August. The last week of August, the 22nd, like week of the
Okay.
22nd. Um, at the Bush Theatre. It's called As We Face the Sun. So come to that if you wish. Um, and yeah, a couple of my young companies are doing their thing. So, I'll be here, I'll be about. I've got a couple of things in the works. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to see where it takes me.
Amazing. And so before we finish up, and I can't remember if I gave you the heads up on this, but I want to ask you for one random fact. Do you have a random fact that you can share with us? Something random. First of all, before I go into that, let me just circle back to what you just said. We will be linking everything in the show notes as to what you're up to. So I'll make sure that all your plays and your companies will be updated in the show notes so people will know where to find you. And now, do you have a random fact for us?
A random fact. Do you know what? Like, I know loads of random facts, and now my mind's gone back. But I give you a random fact about myself real quick. So basically, I'm a big nerd for like folklore and polytheic religions. And so recently, a friend of mine been looking to make like a show. I don't say much about it other than that. But we've been researching Arawak and Taino gods. And so
Okay.
the original, so like this is a random fact, I guess random fact theory opinion thing, because it's about myths. But hey, the one of the original gods, so the Arawak and Taino people are the original occupants of the West Indies or Caribbean islands, or whatever you want to call them, the Western Antilles and whatnot. So the gods that they used to worship, one of them, the Queen Mother, Atebi, she was essentially the goddess of creation and gave birth to the god that gave birth to humans and the world, essentially. And she's obviously the goddess of fertility, was found in water and whatnot. And so, because of that, obviously, she pops up in loads of Africa and Caribbean and all kinds of other myths. Like in some places she would be called Yamoja, in other places she might be called, I don't know, a river goddess, Mummy Water, something like that. And so a nice little fact for you is that in Taino religions, the Lord head god is female. We love that.
Oh, we love that. Love that. That's a very fun and interesting fact. So I love that. Thank you so, so much for sharing. And so where's the best place for people to find you? Is it mostly Instagram? Do you have a website? Or should we just put all the links?
My socials are at Bashiie _, so that's Bashiie spelled BASHIIE, on most places, or Bashiie _BB, because my surname also has a B. The website you can find me on is www.careculture.co.uk. Check it out. Check out my company. We'll be doing some stuff. Yeah, and come see As We Face the Sun in August. If this comes out before August, if not, then cut this last bit.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, we'll be for August. Brilliant. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.